Okay, Professor Malik Badri is here. Assalamualaikum. Assalamualaikum, Professor.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته, my dear son.
Yes. Nice to see you and your wife, Professor Fatima from Istanbul.
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. I can see a number of faces that I am familiar with. I can see Dr. Latif down there. Alhamdulillah.
Professor Malik, may I request to start the session?
Yes.
All right. So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. My respected Professor Malik Badri and wife, Professor Dr. Fatima, Dr. Jamila Hanum, Dr. Mira, participants of this seminar from all over the world. Professor Malik Badri, we have participants all the way from Moscow, Cape Town, Indonesia, India, Colombo, Malaysia, and Indonesia. Alhamdulillah. There we have good responses. I mean, we have people who are very enthusiastic to learn from you. Alhamdulillah. So we welcome all of you either on Zoom session or YouTube session to listen to Professor Malik Badri, who is going to talk about an important topic in this juncture. The topic that Professor Malik Badri will be talking about is mental illnesses, the next wave of COVID-19 pandemic, the roles of mental health professionals. Professor Malik Badri needs no introduction. Personally, I would like to introduce that he is my professor. When I was a student in the International Islamic University, Malaysia, then I'm a proud colleague of Professor Malik Badri when I joined the Department of Psychology at the university, at the International Islamic University in Malaysia. All right, with us this afternoon or morning, I hope Professor Malik Badri is Dr. Jamila Hanum. Dr. Jamila Hanum is an academic in the Department of Psychology, International Islamic University, Malaysia. She is a clinical psychologist by training. Right, our session will be rapporteured by the three students, Sister Shahirunisa, Sister Shamil Sofia, and Sister Najwani. Right, and I would like to introduce a group of students behind the scene. This seminar is organized by a group of organizational change and development students in the Masters of Industrial Organizational Psychology program in the International Islamic University, Malaysia. All right. So before we start, I would like to request every participant to mute their microphone so that we will only listen to Professor Malik Badri's points, right? So if you don't, then we'll be listening to sound from your screen as well. Professor Malik, you are there?
Yes.
Yes, yes, over to you now. So we are now inviting you to talk about the relationship between COVID-19 and psychological health. Is there any link between COVID-19 that we are now experiencing and also the psychological issues which are reported? Like every day we look at statistics of people who are being infected by this coronavirus. We also heard of reports on statistics about mental issues or mental health issues. Right, Professor Malik Badri, over to you now.
Okay. Yeah, Assalamu alaikum. I think the relationship is should be very clear to everybody. The thing that really brought this to my mind is the fact that I have seen a person, he is a professor of pathology in London University. He came to us as a patient because of an obsessive compulsive disorder. This disorder has been caused because by mistake, he was working very hard on a specimen, very dangerous germs. And then he continued work until late in the afternoon, and then he felt tired. He said he was an workaholic. So he said, I will take all these things with me to the house, and I will continue the work after I eat and relax. So he took with one hand, he took his hand back, the other hand, the arm is holding the microscope and the specimen, the very dangerous germs. So when he came to his car and tried to open it with his elbow, but the problem is that the germs fell into his seat, into the car, inside the car. And he was really very much disturbed. He ran away upstairs. He tried to wash, to do this. What was the result? This is a matter of an experience. He was okay before that. At once, he developed an obsessive compulsive disorder. He was afraid of contamination. If he held cannot shake hands with people, and if someone does touch him, he will have to run to the nearest bathroom to wash his hands. Then it became so difficult that his hands became sore from the excessive washing. Now here you can see, this is a normal person. He has gone through a sort of panic from a disease, and then this developed into an obsessive compulsive disorder. We are now taught to become OCD patients by this corona. You cannot, you will have to wash your hands all the time. You cannot touch your face. If corona can stay on surfaces, then you want to clean your table, to clean your computer, to clean your keys, to clean the doorknob. And all this would lead to the very same symptoms of OCD, of obsessive compulsive disorder. This is an example. Also, it can lead to a phobia. It leads to a phobia of what we call object phobia. He's afraid. You will be afraid of touching things. You will be afraid of having your hands completely cleaned all the time. And then the real issue is that it will also be a social phobia. You can that we are heading once this coronavirus is
கேரம் போர்டு எடுத்துட்டுல மறந்துட்டீங்களா?
to treat them one by one, it's not possible. Now it is the time for mental health workers to try to come up with new solutions. We need to do group. We need to do group therapy. We should learn to do it. And the best, the well-known method in this issue is cognitive behavior therapy. There is no time now for all this nonsense of Freud. to tell them about their unconscious or to relax about their childhood. There is no time for this, and it is a useless kind of therapy anyway. So now cognitive behavior therapy is becoming the best form of therapy. But now what can we do? We'll have to invent a method whereby we can make this cognitive behavior therapy to large groups. Not only this, but we also need to invent new kinds of therapies. Now, with the advancing field of cross-cultural psychology, we discovered that cultures can influence our mental health. It can cause us to choose the symptoms, the right symptoms that we think they are, and also the kind of therapy which is to be given to them. So indeed, we need now to think deeply about this. And this would require the work of a group of Muslim psychologists and psychiatrists. We should come together and think about what to do with this epidemic. What are they? We need to learn about a gradual systematic desensitization. We need to know about, particularly with obsessive compulsive disorder. I think it will be the greatest explosion of disorders will be obsessive compulsive disorder. What can we do? What is the best kind of therapy for obsessive compulsive disorder? I must tell you that I was lucky to be in the Middlesex Hospital training in behavior therapy in 1966. And this is where I have seen the very first case of treatment of obsessive compulsive disorders by this method of exposure and response prevention. What is it? I think we need to know it. The first case ever in the world, the very first case, is the case of this professor of pathology I told you about. He came to our hospital and then he was put in a room where there is no water to wash. And he was forced to stay there. He became very anxious. I want to wash, I want to wash. No, you cannot wash. You cannot wash your hands. And then he is kept in the room. After a few days in this deprivation and this high anxiety, gradually the anxiety began to reduce and gradually started to improve. I cannot forget this patient at all because our professor, Mayer, who has come up with this treatment, told me to come near to him. When I came nearer to him, he was trembling, he was shaking. I was black, and at that time, in the 60s, the British used to feel that black people can become dirty, they don't want them near them. So he told me, just come nearer to him, and the fellow is really tense. It is a way of treatment. Here we are to let them feel the anxiety, but do not allow them to make their rituals of washing, of the rituals of or other forms of obsessive compulsive disorder. Phobias are going to develop, and I feel that I will give a name to this phobia. You know, we use the words social phobia, we use the word acrophobia for high places, We use the word agoraphobia for fear of open spaces or fear of going out of the house. There will be the word homophobia because they are mostly people who want homosexuality. Now they have come up with the term homophobia, and that is fear of people, not actually, but fear or anxiety related to people who are homosexuals. We have now Islamophobia. So I think the term will come. I call it from this university, from the International Islamic University, I come up with this term. We call it, what's the name of the disease? The name of the disease that is inflicting us, the epidemic is corona. So we call it chronophobia, chronophobia. And chronophobia is actually can become a specific syndrome, a specific disorder with specific symptoms and how to treat them. I think that this, to my mind, is what I wanted to say to you about the possible epidemic which is coming. Now I will give you back the ball back to Professor Shukran. Yeah, I just wanted to see if I can simply think about the way in which we can treat these people. In the case of a phobia, because a phobia can be a social phobia and it can be a specific phobia, object phobia. The object phobia is a fear of something which is an object, like, for example, a fear of, or a phobia of flying, yes, which is a very common phobia, or a phobia of insects, or a phobia of high places. So here we are faced with a phobia of contamination. Phobia of contamination. We can do the very same simple thing, but if we are going to treat a group of people and all of them have a phobia of contamination, then we need to use the very same method.
Yes, Professor Malik.
Yes, we continue.
Coronaphobia and the need to also formulate a new therapy, and specifically to deal with this coronaphobia. So what will be the role of mental health professionals? What will be the role of psychologists, psychiatrists, social workers as well? So in dealing with coronaphobia after this?
Yes, I think that the main role, which is a difficult role, is to try to use whatever is useful in Western psychotherapy, and to try to see how we can do it with a group of people rather than a one-by-one patient therapist relationship. I, at one time, was asked when I was in the Department of Psychology of IIUM, I was asked by an Indonesian institution to come to speak to them about fighting, this was after the tsunami in Indonesia. And there were so many people who are shocked and who developed also an epidemic of psychological disorders after the tsunami. What can we do? And when I came to them, I also suggested this method. What was one of these methods is, of course, to rely on the spiritual, on the Islamic. And we sort of, I said, train people to bring the patients together, and then they can begin, one of them will begin to talk about the problem, what I have lost, so and another one, and another one. And everybody will feel, people will come together, and the feeling of the we feeling, the warm attraction between them is very therapeutic. Then they begin to read a beautiful nasheed, a nasheed which brings out this feeling of enthusiasm, feeling of not being weak, feeling of facing the problem of so many people dying in your own family. I think this was very helpful. And I told them, let us now, this is a crash program. Bring prospective people with only BA degrees or a BSc in psychology, come together and let us train them. Now it is not the time to go on specifying what kind of training have you had. No, this is the time if a person has a student of psychology, has already covered his studies, or he has doing his master's, he has not yet finished, or whatever, we bring these people together. Cognitive behavior therapy is simple. It is changing your thought, changing your beliefs in order that your emotions will change. And then the other form is the treatment of gradual treatment, bit by bit treatment. I think this is what we call systematic desensitization. This is a very useful treatment for phobias. People are, the therapist and his patient who is phobic, we try to come to make a hierarchy. We're starting with very simple things and becoming gradually more difficult. This, for example, if a person is afraid of high places, just to make things easy for you to understand, since the group I am talking to is a very wide group, some of them are psychologists, some of them are not. So let me give you this example. If a person has a phobia of high places, then you can make him relax. What do we want? We want to associate the feeling of fear, of anxiety, to associate it with something relaxing. Relaxing. After you have taught the person how to relax muscularly, or how to relax by abdominal breathing. What do I mean by abdominal breathing? I mean, have you seen a baby asleep? The baby, when he's asleep, he does not breathe up from his chest, from his tummy. You see his tummy going up and down, up and down. This is the relaxing way. This is abdominal. If you train yourself, if you put your hand on your tummy now and breathe in and inflate your tummy, and when you are exhaling, it goes in outside. If this is done together with muscular relaxation, together with imagining good scenes, all of this together will make a person relaxed. When he's fully relaxed, then I will tell him to imagine you are only on the first floor. Let us go in your imagination to the first floor and look out from the balcony. It's only near the ground, there is no fear. When he is then I take him in his imagination to the second floor, to the third floor, gradually until he is in the 10th floor. When he's in the 10th floor, I take him in real life to the 2nd floor and I give him support, so and so. When many patients will be surprised that they lost their fear in the 2nd floor. Then you take him to the 15th, to the 20th floor, and you make him gradually until you reach that place. Then you are already, you help him to cure himself. This is very important. Relaxation or a positive sort of feeling, which is to be associated with something that you are causing you a phobia. Now, this can be done with a person who has a fear of social phobia. It can be used for people who have objective or object phobia, like, for example, fear of contamination. This system, though we know that it was Wolpe who came up with this behavioral technique and called it systematic desensitization, it is not new. Our early Muslim scholars have done it, have shown it. I don't have maybe time enough to tell you about it, but Al-Ghazali has already made this system and used this method. He had a merchant who was hot-tempered and who would fight with customers if they come and argue about the price of the object. And then gradually this would cause him to become angry and he will attack the customer. This man, to treat himself, because he was so good, he's a good man, he would feel very tense. So when he goes home, he blames himself for reacting with the poor customer. So what does he do? He asks somebody to come and curse him at home. Gradually, this person curses him every day and he pays him money for cursing him. Then he tells him, come and curse me and I will bring one more friend with me, curse me in front of him. When this was repeated, he could tolerate being cursed in front of 2 people, then 3 people, then 4 people. Then he told him, come in the marketplace and curse me. So the person came in the marketplace and shouted at him, you ugly man, what do you think you are? Look at your beard, you look like a he-goat, you are so. What did the man say? Everybody in the market felt he's going to kill him, but he smiled and he became the most patient person. This, to my mind, is the same as systematic desensitization. Only our early Muslim scholars did not use the term. Now, we can use the same method here in contamination. I have already given you an example of this professor of pathology. We can use it as a social phobia, because social phobia is quite common. People almost all people are afraid of giving a public talk in front of many people who can criticize him. Many people have a phobia of facing people who are very high in place. If the prime minister asks you to come, then some people will have this. So this is normal to some extent. Many people have phobias of flying in an aeroplane. So, but there are phobias that have they are irrational. A man with big mustaches and a beard is afraid of cockroaches. And this is not, it's irrational fear. Now, I think that if we consider as mental health workers, if we consider this then as a phobia to be treated by behavior therapy and cognitive therapy, then indeed we can bring people together and we can go make a hierarchy and go through it step by step throughout the whole group. I think that this is one of the things that I can say about it. A group can be treated gradually. Here are two things, you see, graduality and bringing about a feeling of relaxation, of spirituality, of whatever. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has used this in treating the whole group of people in Medina, of treating them from alcohol abuse, from alcoholism. The Arabs of Medina, before Islam, and even after Islam for a number of years, they were one of the most sort of addicted people to khamr, to alcohol. What did Islam do? This is a group therapy of a whole nation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took them. First of all, came the ayah to tell them that you drink, you eat good fruits, and you make an alcoholic drink from it. ومن ثمرات النخيل والأعناب تتخذون منه سكرا ورزقا حسنا. So here people started to feel there is the sakar, that is to be intoxicated, and the rizq al-hasan. You can eat fruit, you can eat grapes, but you cannot, but making it as alcohol is not as good as eating it as a fruit. Then after some time came the verse of the Quran. Many people started to stop even at that point. They came and asked, what about alcoholic drink? يسألونك عن الخمر والميسر قل فيهما اسم كبير ومنافع للناس. They ask you about alcoholic drink and gambling. Say there are some uses in them, but the bad aspects in them are much more than the good aspects. So now it is a small touch. Many people started to stop. Then came this great verse which says, please, Allah says to people, do not say your prayers when you are drunk. And if we pray 5 times a day, we cannot drink too much. We cannot be drunk. So indeed, this is a miraculous way of taking the alcohol out of the bloodstream of people. Gradually, they started to reduce it because they cannot pray while drunk. After 4 years of gradual treatment, came the very final verse, stop taking alcohol and khamr altogether. They were able to stop. During the whole life of the Prophet, only about 7 cases were punished for taking alcohol. Only 7 in a whole society. Now we need to make use of that. And then the spiritual dimension is very important here. Many people are already now with this coronavirus, many people are coming back, are beginning to think God is punishing us. What have we been doing? And then forcing people to stay home. People contemplate, and for the first time, they begin to see their spouses and their children with them things are changing. I think the world after Corona is not going to be the same as the world that was before it. I have just read now about one man who's converted to Islam. He's a Christian. He converted to Islam, or maybe he was not a Christian, maybe he was atheist. He accepted Islam and declared it because of coronavirus and the way our Prophet ﷺ spoke about epidemics and what to do with it in epidemics. So this is more or less the general approach. I think the way of relaxation, teaching relaxation, is a very important aspect in this therapy. Relaxation requires a very important factor, and that is muscular relaxation. Just imagine when you are tense, when you are angry, your muscles become very tense. You may not be aware of it, but actually you begin to feel it as if you have been angry throughout the day, and then you come to sleep, you feel, oh, my neck is giving me some pain. I feel also in my back. It is because of the tension of the muscles. We associate between anxiety and muscular tension. Now we want to teach the person to relax the muscles. You know, the Prophet ﷺ has a miraculous hadith here. He said, if you are angry and you are standing up, sit down. If it doesn't go, then lie down. What does this mean? It means relax your muscles. Now, if someone, you are relaxing, you are as a student, all of you, some of you are students. Let's just imagine that you are in your room, you have one roommate, and then you are relaxing in bed about to sleep or to drowse, and then this man comes, your companion comes and opens the cupboard and says, what is happening? I have left here 100 ringgits. I can't find it here. And then he looks at you with a suspicious eye. Then what are you going to do? Are you going to yawn and relax? On the contrary, all your muscles will become tense. You will stand up and talk. What are you talking about? Do you accuse me? Now it is complete tension. I think that here the muscular tension is associated with psychological tension. If we consciously relax the muscle, then the relaxation will come. Another important thing is that Allah has given us a great humans, a great gift, the gift of imagination. When you ask the person to relax, now you taught him muscular relaxation, he tried it at home a number of times, and now he can relax well, muscularly. Then close your eyes and imagine. I want you to remember a time in which you were fully relaxed. Tell me this time. People differ. In Saudi Arabia, some of my patients will say, sitting in the desert under a tree, palm tree, in the shade of a palm tree, I'm sitting there and relaxing. Many people in other places, when we are in the shore of a river or in ocean, just remember when you were fully relaxed and happy. When he tells you about it, then you use it to make him imagine the same place. And here your imagination can go wild. I had a patient who had this very same case, which is one of the things which I expect will become an epidemic also after the corona subsides. And that is fear of death, phobia of death. And this young man had a very serious phobia of death. And then I'm supposed to relax him. The psychiatrist tried to give him antidepressants, tried to give him this. What was the cause of his phobia? It was a dream. He has a dream of his mother who used to love him and died after the death of the mother. 1 week after the death, he saw the mother coming him in the dream and told him, your cousin Yusuf is going to join me quickly. And then it will be your turn to come. And he said, my cousin Yusuf is still young. This is only a silly dream. Then when he went home, he received the message that his cousin Yusuf died in a car crash. So he said, it is me, I'm next. He started to have this fear until he became phobic. He cannot even go to his work. He came to the hospital. And when the psychiatrist failed to help him with drugs and whatever they did to him, they sent him to me. I relaxed. Okay. He was a religious man. Muscular relaxation. But then close your eyes and imagine. I know he's religious. Imagine yourself going to the Hajj. Imagine yourself looking at the Kaaba and people. Now imagine yourself, what's happening? Imagine yourself standing in front of the grave of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When I said this, his eyes begin to tremble and tears come out of his eyes. In this situation, then I remind him about his fear of death. I remind him what will happen to death. What is death itself in Islam? Is it the end of life or the beginning of life? We begin to talk about this. Then I'm using cognitive therapy, but then after that, I use behavior therapy in gradually showing him cases in which to see people, because he was so much afraid of death that he will not go near the graveyard, though he used to cross the graveyard every day, from his house, to go to his work, to take the bus. Now he cannot come. He goes a very long way to avoid the graveyard. So now I start to take him in the hospital. I took him to see people who are sick, to see people who are dying. And then gradually, this man suddenly came to me one day and said to me, now, doctor, I am okay. I'm not afraid. I went to the graveyard. My neighbor, his grandmother died. I went with him and we buried the old woman. Here we are. I am actually talking about methods that can relaxation. We can relax by muscular relaxation, imagining good scenes. We can relax and abdominal breathing. And also, if you cannot do all these things, then you will have to use a drug. A drug, you can give it to the patient just before coming to the relaxation session, before coming to the therapeutic session. He takes 5 milligrams of Valium or some other similar drug, and he will become relaxed. but this is not advisable. The advisable way is to use muscular relaxation. Hypnotic trance, hypnosis is also useful in this respect. Now, what can we do to teach people to relax? I have seen a case in which the therapist relaxed a whole group of about 20 or 30 patients, all of them. Now he gives them the instructions. Now hold your arms like this, tense your arms, raise the arm, bring it down, take a deep breath, inflate your tummy, take the breath out. And while you are taking the breath out, you mention one word from your belief system, they say. This is something very, for us, it is so easy. Take a deep breath, and then as you are exhaling the air out, say, Subhanallah, leave your relax. Again, Subhanallah. This is a very helpful way to help relaxation. I think that this can be done, and we can do relaxation to a group instead of doing teaching relaxation to one person. Then we can think about a hierarchy, making things bit by bit, coming nearer and nearer to people in social situation, in imagination, and then in real life. This can be done. But the most important thing is to change our thought, to change our belief. Now, behavior therapy is coming, or cognitive behavior therapy is coming nearer and nearer to spirituality. Now we are having the third wave, in which they are borrowing from Buddhism. And here I'm telling them, why don't you come to Islam? You take your airplane from America or England, and you go all the way to China, to some faraway place to learn from Buddhism. Why don't you just make your airplane come down first in a Muslim country and see what they are doing? In this respect, there is a very good man who has written quite a good book. It is called Timeless Healing. This man, great professor, he was director of Mind and Body Institute in Harvard University. And he says that the spiritual is a very important dimension in therapy. And he came out with this relaxation response, in which whenever you inflate your tummy and then when you exhale, you mention a word. And he said, if you are a Muslim, you can repeat the word ahadun, ahadun, which Bilal used to say. Now he began to describe things in such a way that I felt that he's talking about my father. When my father comes and takes his tasbih and begins Subhanallah, Subhanallah, and he closes his eyes and makes. This is the way which we do it. We don't need Peck or someone to come and to tell us how we can relax ourselves. So we need really the spiritual dimension is very, very important in such therapy. I know of one American brother. His name is John Sullivan. He converted to Islam, and we became intimate friends when I was in Virginia at the time. And then we invited him to come to Saudi Arabia. he has this method. If the patient who comes to him for counseling is a Muslim, he tells him, please go and make wudu. I have wudu. And let us pray 2 rak'ats before we start the therapy. And the person will do it. If the person accepts, then they come, and after prayer, he raises his arms like this. Ya Allah, you have put me in this situation to help my dear brother who is suffering from so and so. Please, Allah, help me to help him. And then he starts the therapy. Of course, these people, when they accept Islam, they do not have these sort of hindrances in which we try to become scientific, we do this, do that. If you bring your emotions in your thinking to the patient, many people will think that you are actually not being as scientific or rational. This is a big fallacy. We need to be ourselves. If things or parts of spirituality make us relaxed and happy, we do it. We don't care about what others would think of us in this manner. I have seen patients who were suffering from essential hypertension. Essential hypertension is high blood pressure, which is caused by is not caused by a well-known cause medically. They cannot find something organic that causes the high blood pressure. But the person has it, it is functional. So a student of mine wanted to do his master's degree with me. He's Syrian. He came all the way to do it with me in Khartoum, in Sudan. And so we chose a sample from the university, from the hospital in Khartoum. And we chose about, I don't remember now, 20 or 30 cases in which we subject to various forms of treatment. All of them, with the exception of one group, we had 4 groups. All of the 3 of these groups received relaxation exercises, relaxation responses. All of these things about relaxing the muscles, abdominal breathing, whatever, we did it to them. And then one group would receive psychotherapy, Western psychotherapy as advised in such cases of high blood pressure. And then another group received nothing but listening through earphones to ayat of the Quran, Shifa, ayat al-Shifa. So we were actually doing an Islamic therapy to them. Ayat al-Shifa and ahadith al-Shifa, repeated to them again and again and again, but and relaxation. The 4th group was to receive nothing but ayat al-Shifa. So they came once to the hospital and we make them lie down and they read to them ayat al-Shifa, and then they go. Then the next time they don't come. They say, why should we go to the hospital? If he's going to read ayat al-Shifa, we better go to the mosque. The Imam will read it to us. We don't need to go. So we dropped this group altogether. So now we have 3 groups. One group, the 3 group received relaxation. but one of them received Ayat al-Shifa. One group received psychotherapy in the normal way that we do with such patients. And the third group received nothing but relaxation. No talking, nothing, no therapy. Now, the doctors in the hospital in Khartoum would measure the blood pressure of these people. They discovered after a few months of this treatment that all of them improved from relaxation. But the ones who received the Ayat al-Shifa were so much better than the rest, than the other one that received psychotherapy, to the extent that doctors in a number of cases told them, you are treated, don't come back to the hospital, don't take any drugs, you are treated. Really, now what I'm saying here is that we can use a group therapy, which is Islamic in its approach. Before I conclude this, do you like me to stop or to continue? Professor Shukran.
You may conclude. Yeah, we will come to another round when the participants will ask you questions. I think now we can conclude first. Prof.
We can continue. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, you may conclude now, Prof.
Pardon?
They going to conclude.
Yeah, we conclude first and then we'll come back to you with questions.
Yes.
Yes, okay, Prof. Thank you very much. It was full of knowledge, Professor Malik. It was like attending your class, like in-person class, something like that. So Professor Malik just now has talked to us about our roles as mental health professionals. It's not only that he talked about the roles, but he had deliberated to us the approaches and the method that we should be or could be taking when we are treating or dealing with people who needs our help in that sense. This is important for not only psychotherapists or psychologists or psychiatrists, but also for psychology education. I believe among you, professors, deans, or head departments who are in charge of psychology education. So it's time for us to now relook at our training program. It's now for us to think of developing new approaches of psychotherapy or strengthening, the psychotherapeutic technique that we are training our students, or improving or changing whatever we have in place. Right, Professor Malik, I would like to seek your permission to invite our assistant professor, Dr. Jamila Hanum, to respond to your views just now. With your permission, Professor Malik.
Yes, of course.
Yes, Professor, Dr. Jamila Hanum, it's over to you now. You are free to share your views and perhaps help the participants to shape their takeaway from this session.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Shukran, and also Prof. Malik. I'm very honored to be here as the discussant. I also feel very humbled with the invitation from the department to become a discussant for today's forum. Dr. Shukran, not only you, reminisce the experience, the learning experience that you had with Prof. Malik. Me too. I was also a student of Prof. Malik I learned Islam and psychology from Prof Malik, and I still remember that the whole class will be quiet, and we will listen to his story and all the contents. Okay, what's next? What's next? What's after this? All the stories really enlighten us and makes us want to come to every of his class, even though it's in the morning. So now, allow me to share my screen, Dr. Shukran. I have prepared something to share with other people on the takeaway and also my thoughts on the points that have been shared by Prof. Malik just now. So I will be sharing my PowerPoint slide, yeah? And I also appreciate if all of us can be cautious and mindful with our with our fingertips, so that we will not be sharing our screen later. So allow me to share my screen alone, yeah? Okay. Can everyone now see my screen? Dr. Shukran, can you see my screen now?
Yes, no, it's perfect, Dr. Jamila. Thank you.
Okay, all right. So in
Yes.
order to help me to discuss about this, I will be using the PowerPoint slide, and I don't mind to share this PowerPoint slides after this with all the participants here. Dr. Shukran, I will pass this to Sister Izati, our organizer, and also our repertoire. Or share my point of view on what Prof. Malik have been sharing with us just now. Okay, and Prof. Malik has explained very well about the relationship between COVID-19 and also our psychological health. Especially, he focused on the impact of COVID-19 and also our mental health. And Prof. Malik did mention that he's worried. Probably after this, people may started to develop obsessive compulsive disorder. Coronaphobia is a form of specific phobia in relation to COVID-19, and social phobia. And because of the current lockdown throughout the globe, um, even though that this is a physical distancing in nature, it may also trigger social phobia in the future, whereby people are afraid to meet other people. People are anxious whether other people are healthy or not, to be contacted with, to be interacted with. And not only coronaphobia, OCD, and also social phobia, but also the fear of death. Prof. Malik did mention that people are worried if after this COVID-19, they may be affected by either COVID-19 virus or other germs or other virus in the future. So this may also trigger future health anxiety, or we previously call it as a hypochondriasis, another form of mental disorder. Um, Not only anxiety disorder, we've seen that in our media, epidemiologists, mental health experts have been saying that this isolation, the lockdown, or in Malaysia we call it movement control order, may increase isolation, feeling of loneliness, especially to our elderly. And when people feel lonely, it is not only that we feel uncertain about the future, we are afraid and also fear about the future. We may also feel depressed. When we feel lonely, depression also may increase. And not only among people, general people who may be affected most are the one who is currently suffering with mental disorders. People who already have a history of mental disorders may become more intense and need to be helped as well. Our elderly, our parents with different able children at home, when they are locked down, the stress become higher. So these are all will trigger and develop uh, different forms of mental disorders. And Prof. Malik has mentioned to us on what can be done. So what can be done to help our people? And Prof specifically mentioned that we need to use cognitive behavior therapy. And I agree with that, because cognitive behavior therapy is a gold standard of psychotherapy intervention. If you're talking about psychotherapy, it has been proven globally in many meta-analysis that cognitive behavior therapy may able to reduce anxiety, may able to reduce the symptoms of depression, loneliness, and also other form of mental disorders. And the most important and interesting part that Prof. Malik has mentioned is the integration of cultural context. In Malaysia, for example, we know that from the readings that I have made, from the systematic review that I have written on the treatments of anxiety disorders in Malaysia, we can see if the CBT or psychotherapy is being integrated with cultural elements and also spirituality or religious activities, the effect size or the treatment effects are higher if compared to we use alone the Western model of CBT. So the adaptation, the integration of the Western model of CBT and also our model of CBT, I think is a very good suggestion by Prof. Malik, and we need to take that point and seriously discuss about this. Prof. Malik also mentioned, I think it is good to do this not in the individual treatment format, but in a group intervention. And this may enhance the feeling of us, the feeling of we. It also will enhance the feeling of common humanity experience, not only single person or few people who are affected by this COVID-19 and also the social isolation, social distancing and lockdown that we are currently observing. Many people are in distress. And because of that, group intervention may be used in order to enhance the therapeutic elements in it. And later on, I will share with you my thoughts about group training. In my PhD, previously, I have done group CBT for patients with anxiety disorders and depression. Yeah, and I like the point that Prof. Malik Badri informed us relaxation can be integrated with our own spirituality activities or religiosity activities such as zikir, ahadun, alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar. And for other religion, for other faith, they may use different mantra. Yeah, and this may enhance not only relaxation in terms of our muscle, but also will enhance spirituality inside us internally. So Prof. Malik urged us to train people, train people to use CBT. And as he has mentioned, CBT is a form of cognitive therapy whereby we may need to restructure our thoughts. And when we are able to restructure our thoughts, it may also help us to improve the state of our feeling, and we may become more rational after that. And the relaxation strategies that Prof. Malik has suggested us to do is abdominal breathing. And I think that this is going back to basic. Let's be a baby. Learn on how to breathe like a baby. It is not something difficult to be done. We just need to go back to basic and breathe consciously, breathe mindfully. using abdominal breathing, and also using progressive muscular relaxation. I agree with Prof. This is not something rocket science. It's about identifying which muscles that we feel tense, and stress it a bit and elongate the muscle or relax the muscle, and at the same time try to use imagination. We know that imagination is so powerful, but sometimes we are too distracted to even imagine something that are nice, that may enhance the feeling of therapeutic inside us. And Prof. Malik did mention, do this gradually, and I can sense the feeling of kindness there. It's not pushing people, but do this gradually. Be patient. Ask our patient or ask our friends who are impacted, who feel distressed, to gradually and become sabar. We will be there. We will go there to the therapeutic stage. Yeah. And this is nothing new, as Prof. Malik has mentioned. Is there in the Quran? We have learned about it, but I think now is we need to seriously think on how to integrate it. Yeah, and Al Ghazali also has proved that previously, and Prof. Malik has mentioned that to us. And well, for other than Muslim, probably the new wave of mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, for example, may be helpful to you, such as mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, self-compassion, mindfulness self-compassion, ACT, all these, MBSR, mindfulness-based stress reduction, all these have the element of Buddhist psychologies. And we also have other people, not only Muslim here, and I believe that this can be a good reference point for you to start learning on how to incorporate the element of mindfulness and or Buddhism as part of your therapeutic strategies. Apart from all the things that Prof. Malik has mentioned, allow me to add two more points, Dr. Shukran. So I think number one, apart from learning and training people to use CBT, I think we need to educate people about the risk of developing mental illness. It's very important for us mental health professionals or psychologists to normalize the situation. It's okay. This COVID-19 really, it's normal to feel in distress. It's a natural response for us to feel sad, to feel fear, to feel afraid about the future. Some distress are a natural response. And I believe that in this extraordinary time, it takes extraordinary resilience level for us to cope with it. So it's okay. Yeah, recognizing that mental health issue may become another new wave of this pandemic COVID-19 is very important. So when we recognize that after this, probably the mental health issues are going to arise, so we, all of us, psychologists, mental health professionals, can be more prepared, and we need to normalize this among our people, that it's okay, it's a natural response. And now let's learn on how to cope with it. It can be treated. It's not something that cannot be treated. It can be treated. Number two, because social distancing, physical distancing may also enhance loneliness, and loneliness may become another risk factors of the development or triggering factors of mental health problems. I think it's very important to still maintain being a social creation. Yeah, we are a social creature. We still need to talk to people. And I believe this will help to reduce the possibility to develop social phobia. So call people, reach out for other people, say hi, how are you? Um, uh, experiment talking to different people, and hopefully that when the lockdown is over, when we go back to our previous routine, the social phobia symptoms are not that severe. And another thing is focus on the present moment. Uh, Apart from learning about relaxation, changing our thoughts to become more rational, I think focusing on what we can control at the present moment. For example, today I can see that around 200 people are able to be here, and it shows that how we are able to be in control, at least to be in front of our screen and listening to Prof. Malik's speech, and also think about what we are going to do next. Yeah, so focus on the present moment, what we can do now, and staying connected is very important. Um, so I would like to move on my sharing session. Um, I believe that mental health professionals have other roles apart from providing treatment or psychotherapy. I believe that the clinical psychologists, psychiatrists, our frontliners at hospitals are also doing assessment, consultation. Okay, my internet connection is unstable a bit. Okay. We as the academic also provide research. We continuously doing supervision and training of our students to make sure that these future mental health professionals are ready in order to help the community in the future. I also would like to share, Prof. Malik, and also our audience, what Malaysia have been doing so far. Um, but this is limited to my personal observations, and I'm not representing any agencies. Yeah, so this is very limited to what I know, what I have read in my social media. Apart from we may be planning about training our mental health professionals and other people on CBT in the future, this is the evidence that how our mental health professionals has been doing so far. So this is the current status of COVID-19 in Malaysia on 22nd April 2020, Prof, and also our respected audience. For your information, the percentage of recovery cases are 62% as of yesterday. And as a Malaysian Prof, I'm so proud that we are leading in terms of the recovery cases, and the total death are below than 2%. It shows, it really shows that the frontliners and also Malaysian are trying to observe whatever that the government are currently advising us to do. And because of that, we would like to thank our frontliners. So that is actually the cartoon, the famous cartoon in Malaysia, Prof, the Agent Ali cartoon. I have the citation, the references over there. You can see that we have the tagline there. We stay at work for you. Our frontliner says that, we stay at work for you. You stay at home for us. And we have another tagline, Prof, which is kita jaga kita. In English, we call it we care for each other. Our frontliners helping us to take care of us. We also helping frontliners to make sure that the number of new cases are decreasing from time to time. In terms of mental health professional roles, Prof, at the country level, national level, I'm so proud to share with you, even though that I'm not from Mercy, but this is something that I have quoted from Dr. Haryati Sharima Abdul Majid, the consultant psychologist of Mercy Malaysia, in her Facebook. Mercy Malaysia's mental health and psychosocial support team is collaborating with our Ministry of Health, Crisis Preparedness and Response Center to provide psychosocial support for Malaysians who need a safe space to share their worries, concerns and fears, or to seek recommendations on ways to cope with the challenges they are facing, so that we can be resilient and bounce back stronger together. So these are what the mental health professionals, the health professionals that are currently doing for Malaysian. Yeah, Malaysian can call this psychosocial support hotline from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. in case they are feeling worried and they need to share about their mental health status, or they need support, or they need someone to talk to. Apart from that, Prof, the okay, I have some issues with my slide, but never mind. Uh, so, yes, Mercy Malaysia also have this self-care sharing session via Facebook Live, whereby we have someone or mental health professionals or health professional talk about on how to manage ourselves in the current situation. And you can see that, Prof, in the purple box. On the right side, on top of the second image, Mercy Malaysia has received about 1,059 psychosocial hotline calls. Yeah, and their Facebook Live on the self-care support has been viewed for more than 35,000. So these are the things that our mental health professionals in Malaysia currently doing. Apart from that, at the state level, my friend in Kelantan is one of the state in Malaysia, and you can see that, Prof. I have circled two people there. One in the purple circle and also red circle. These are clinical psychologists and also clinical psychology trainee, Prof. The one in the purple circle was our alumni, Prof. He is Mr. Firdaus Ninam Shah, who is currently at Hospital Raja Perempuan Zainab, Kelantan, and he with his team currently providing psychological first aid for the frontliners, staff of the department who are working, the patients, and also person under investigation. And on the right, in the right circle, is our clinical psychology trainee, Prof, who is currently finishing his master in clinical and counseling. This is his final placement. We believe that, even though that I'm worried as a teacher when sending him there, but I also know that this exposure is very important for him to grasp now, so that he will be more prepared in the future. If any pandemic happen, at least we have trained our students to take over our job. This is in the university level, Prof, and definitely because I'm from International Islamic University Malaysia, you were also from International Islamic University Malaysia, Prof Fatimah too. So I would like to also share a bit what the university has been done and still currently doing. On the screen now, Prof, we have the IIUM COVID-19 psychosocial support team. They are not mental health professionals only, Prof. We have ustaz, we have ustazah. So because we know the integration of religiosity elements, spirituality elements is very important. Some of them are sociologists, Prof. Some of them we have Dr. Latif over there too. I'm not sure if we have political science scientists there, but majority of them are psychologists. But they are not all mental health professionals. So we, as you have mentioned, put away about our background. If we would like to help people, if we have the feeling to help people, we get training, we are ready to serve our community. This is our our website of emotional and psychological support website. Our academic have prepared a lot of resources for people to go to this website and read, and we believe that some of them feel relief after reading our writing. Also, we integrate so many types of writing here, not only from mental health professionals, ustazah, sociologists, communication experts also contribute in terms of preparing the resources. These are our e-psychosocial unit, Prof, as part of the psychosocial support team. Um, uh, these are the people who receive email, who receive clients that we can help in case they are feeling distressed. People may reach out to us using the email address that we have on the image, yeah, psu_clinic@iium.edu.my. At least this is what we do for our community in the university level. At the departmental level, Prof, as someone from the Department of Psychology, I would like to give this credit to Dr. Diana and also the department members who prepare this blog, Prof. We have a blog, Department of Psychology blog, whereby we prepare again so many resources on how people can navigate their life during this lockdown and after this. And all that I have been mentioning to you, Prof. Dr. Shukran has written a very well article, and recently this, it is today, 23rd of April. It's being published in the Berita Harian, one of the famous newspaper in Malaysia, about what the university is currently been doing to help our community. Not only that, Prof, as research is also part of our bread and butter, mental health professionals also continuously being resilient to conduct research, and we know that we need to have evidence in order to provide advice and intervention. So I am very humble to share with you that me and my colleague, Dr. Keng Xian Ling, he is a Malaysian but currently teaching at Yale National University College in Singapore. We are the collaborators of this global research effort of psychology corona study. And for your information, Prof, up until yesterday, we were able to gather around 600 data from Malaysia, and we really hope that these data that we have received from our community, from Malaysian people, we can use it on how to advise people on how to manage the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. In case in the future, na'udzubillah min zalik, if we have another type of pandemic, we know from the data how can we do to make sure that we can curb the spread of this pandemic as fast as we can, as valid as we can. So the way forward, Prof, this is my final part. As you have mentioned, what we need to do now. I believe that we need to strengthen our role as mental health professionals, and we need to continuously strengthen it, not only in the component of treatment and psychotherapy, but also in other areas, because that are everyone have different roles. Some people will do research, some people will go to the field and provide treatment and provide consultation. Some people like me who are in the university need to continuously supervise students, conduct training. People like Dr. Shukran need to help us to govern and to lead, to become a good administrator on how we can establish a new group or a new training unit after this on CBT. As a conclusion for my discussion, Prof, I agree that we need to train not only mental health professionals but also people who want to help other people on CBT. And I agree with you, it's not difficult. It's not difficult to learn on how to restructure our thoughts so that it can improve our emotional state and our action so that we can be more rational. Relaxation training. abdominal breathing, progressive muscle relaxation. These are all somehow, we need to go back to the basic. We have learned this in kindergarten about stretching and relaxing our muscles. It is a high time for us to use it, make it a practice, and integrating the element of religiosity and spirituality, because it's very important. It is a central of ourself as a human being, especially Muslim and people who are religious. We plan our everyday life. We revolve around our religion. So definitely we need to include religiosity aspect and spirituality aspect as part of the treatment component. I also would like to share with you, Prof. Previously, when I did my PhD, I conduct a group CBT for patients with anxiety disorder and depression. As you have mentioned, your study have 4 arms, if I'm not mistaken. In our study, Prof, we have 3 arms, whereby we have cognitive behavior therapy as the experimental group. We have relaxation training as another comparison group, and we have treatment as usual. And in this case, in Malaysia, is our medication, our drug treatment. And what we have found in this study, the effect size for the group CBT was 1.8. In other words, the treatment success is very huge if compared to medication alone, and if compared to relaxation training alone. But we also aware that if group CBT using Western model probably is not good enough for our Malaysian context. Prof Fatimah, Prof, and also Dr. Latif, and probably some other researchers who are currently also online, Dr. Mardiana from the Department of Psychology, Prof. Walid from the Department of Engineering, and also Dr. Amna from the Department of Usuluddin and Comparative Religion in IIUM. Just finished our pilot study, Prof, on Islamic Spiritual Enhancement Program among our students who have stress, and we found that our student really would like to experience and get this kind of program in the future. The elements of zikir, Quran, recitation of Quranic verses, recitation of certain awrat, and khulwah. Now we have khulwah. If certain people have meditation, we have khulwah in Islam. So we are surprised to see the subjective response from our participants. They were saying that I like zikir most, I like reading Quranic verses most, I like reading awrat, I like reading khulwah most, and the effect is very large in reducing stress, which is 1.38, and that is huge if we talk in terms of empirical finding. I think that's all, Dr. Shukran and also Prof, my sharing session today. I know that we have so many things to do. This is what we have been doing, and we mental health professionals, Malaysian people in the world will continuously to become extraordinarily resilient in order to combat this COVID-19. So thank you. I pass back this floor to you, Dr. Shukran.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jamila. Jazakillah khairan kathiran. Congratulations, job well done, Dr. Jamila Anum. Professor Malik, there are questions that I'd like to collect from our audience. And I plan to only collect 5 questions for you, Professor Malik, to answer. Dear audience, we cannot prolong this session because Professor Malik Badri has an important task to do after this. He has to travel, all right? So I'm only allowing 5 people to ask questions. Can I invite Abdullah Jane? Brother Abdullah Jane, can you now pose your question to Professor Malik? Are you here, Brother Abdullah? I'm inviting Reno after this. If Reno
Yes, I am here. Yes, thank you. I am here.
Abdullah Jani, you can forward a question now, please.
Yes, my question is that there is something called stigmatization or discrimination of people who are affected by coronavirus, and this stigmatization will drive to that those people, those infected people, to hide their infection and not seek medical or quarantine. How can we deal this situation? Social stigma or public stigma between public for against those infected by coronavirus.
Okay, Brother Abdullah, where are you from?
I'm from Somali.
Thank you, Brother Abdullah. Professor Malik?
Yes. Yes. To fight this form of discrimination is it is the role of really of public relations offices and of the media, because now the idea that this is like a stigma has arisen from the fact that having the disorder means death, and people are afraid to come to the. I have seen this very nice cartoon the other day, in which people in the street have seen a man lying down unconscious. So they all came to help him, a group of people. And then when they turned the body, he was on his face, they found that he's Chinese. They all ran away. So indeed, the idea that people who have these are like lepers, we should run away from them, is really very serious. But how to deal with it, I do not think I have a ready-made answer for you. This is the job of a whole community. Like, for example, AIDS today. At one time, AIDS was people were considering it a terrible stigma. And if one person in a family has AIDS, then the whole family is stigmatized. Nobody will come to marry their daughters. Nobody will come to share any jobs with them. So now it is much lighter. It's no more. So I think that it requires this, and it requires lectures like this one. It requires videos. It requires people who come to the broadcasting stations, radio. It's not for a small department. Yes. But now before I answer the following question, I must say a few words about the presentation of Jamila. Jamila is a great granddaughter to me. I say she is a granddaughter because I taught the dean, Dr. Shukran, was one of my first students in psychology in IIUM in 1991. And then Shukran taught Jamila. So Jamila is like a granddaughter because I taught the one who taught her. Alhamdulillah, for this age. But I'm quite impressed. I must congratulate you, Dean Shukran, to have such a member of staff in your kulliyah. She's brilliant, she's knowledgeable, and she is expressive. She talks very nicely and expressively. I really am very, very much impressed with her. And I hope that she will be able to be a star in the field of psychology related to our culture and to our religion, our Islam. Yes, and I am very impressed by her thought. I think that this issue of cross-cultural studies is very important. It has opened up the eyes of the Western world to the culture-bound theories and practices of psychology. Because there are disorders which are found in one country, they are not found in another. This DSM psychiatric book on which they consider it like as if it is a holy book, it does not contain disorders like LATA, which is found here in, yes, I have seen a woman having LATA with this echolalia. Whatever is said to her, she repeats the same thing again and again. Also running amok. Amok is one of, they found that in some countries in Africa, some tribes, when they develop bipolar disorder, which is considered has depression and the mania, being too happy and being too sad and depressed, they found that they don't show a lot of depression. They are mostly showing the manic side. Not only that, but they also found that that some people who are afflicted with some psychological disorders are considered holy, and they are happy to become psychologically disordered. People come to them for treatment. You have been chosen for being so and so. People with cerebral palsy and other diseases. So indeed, the whole issue, the kind of delusions that they make. Now, if a patient, a normal patient comes, she's depressed and comes to the psychiatrist who is either British or European, or he is a Muslim, but has been impressed by these people who were their professors in the West. And she comes and says, my husband married another woman, and after that, I started to feel so and so and so. I cannot eat, I cannot sleep, I cannot so and so. And I'm very sure it is sihr. This woman has made sihr for me so that my husband will divorce me. What will an Englishman say? An English psychiatrist will consider, what do you mean by sihr? I mean, she went so and so and she made some writing and so on. They put it somewhere in my house, and now I'm afflicted with this disease. He will smile, one-sided smile, and then he will write a prescription for schizophrenia, and maybe they will take her to be an inpatient. The woman is actually saying what the culture says, not even the culture, but I am not afraid to tell you that there are such things. And what the Quran has told us, يَتَعَلَّمُونَ مَا يُفَرِّقُونَ بِهِ بَيْنَ الْمَرْءِ وَزَوْجِهِ. There is some form of black magic. It happens, and it can do evil to some people. I have just finished my book in which I speak about the ain, the evil eye. Is there an evil eye or not? Yes, there is. The Prophet said there is, and indeed there is. Now, if in psychology we are taught in parapsychology that a person some people who are gifted or have some abilities, they can move matter by their own concentration, psychological concentration, which they name it psychokinesis or telekinesis. If this is proven, how can we accept a person without touching something or moving it, without anything, just concentrating on it, and it moves? If he can move an object, is it not possible that a person can affect another person through the same kind of concentration? Why, if we mention an evil eye, then some people will smile and will say this is superstition? But the same psychologist would listen to a lecture on psychokinesis, and now there is a lot of evidence in one American university. One professor, I think his name is John, he was able to show after hundreds of studies that this is so. I just want to say this quickly, and I will also mention that all of what the beautiful things that Jamila said needs an institution, need a center. A university should start a center for this kind of therapy. The first ever university that has made a center for Islamic counseling and psychotherapy is the University of Nilain in the Sudan. I am honored, I'm quite honored, because they called it Malik Badri Center for Islamic Psychotherapy and Counseling. I think we need to have such a thing where psychologists will come together and they will find the platform from which to work. It's not enough to go only to Mercy Malaysia from here and to go here and there. Or make a center and make it a center that can give a higher degree in the field of to try to make psychology theoretically and practically something suited to the culture and based on an Islamic approach. Thank you very much. I will listen to the question.
Right, thank you, Professor Malik. I'm humbled with your acknowledgement about me just now, and I join you to carry pride in Dr. Jamila Hanum's achievement. Alhamdulillah. May I now invite brother or sister Reno here. Reno? Or Imam Faisal after this?
Pardon?
Faisal, are you here? Yes.
Yes.
You can ask Professor Malik a question now.
Yes, sir.
Yes, you can forward your question now, please.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Many of my undergraduate students ask me, what can I do for students to do in the COVID-19 pandemic? Because they haven't become a mental health professional, but they want to contribute. So maybe there is a suggestion from Prof. Malik Badri or experience from IIUM about how can undergraduate student can be contribute in pandemic in this.
Yeah, thank you, Faisal. Professor Malik?
Yes.
Okay.
How can graduate students?
Undergraduate.
Undergraduate.
Yeah, I think undergraduate students are lucky people because they are actually learning psychology from people who have freed themselves from the slavery of copying from the West, from Western psychology. You are lucky to have people who have already freed themselves from this slavery that continued for a long time. Because there are many universities today who are clinging to the very same theories and practices which the Western world has already do not accept anymore. For example, today, if you go to Algeria, if you go to Morocco, you will find quite Freud is still ruling psychology there. They are still talking about audible complexes and about sexual, unconscious sexual motivation in dreams and in actual life, everything to be explained. This is still going on. So here you are finding people like Jamila, you are finding people like Haryati when she was teaching here. You have a number of people who have freed themselves from all that. So you must try to find the narrow specialization which you want to follow. Start from now. What is your interest? Is it in organizational psychology? And which part of organizational psychology? You begin to train yourself from now. What do you like to do in counseling? What kind of counseling? You see, what kind of psychotherapy you like to concentrate on? So now I think that you should do this. The second thing, you should develop a furqan. You know what a furqan is? A furqan is the ability to differentiate between what is good and what is not good, what is useful and what is not useful. To be able to develop this ability, innate ability of, and this will not come very easily. For example, when you study Islamic psychology, you will have to know which part of the Islamic psychology is useful and which are the things that are not useful. For example, now I'm talking about behavior therapy. In behavior therapy, one man comes to me because he has had a car accident, and after that, he developed a phobia of driving into a motor car. Now, I don't need to teach him to Islamize the therapy. There's no need to do that at all. I simply train him, use systematic desensitization or some other way to make him, I don't need to talk to him here about an Islamic approach. But if a person comes to me with depression and he says, I feel I am bad, I am useless, because only his, yes. So indeed, if you can specialize yourself in this direction, then after that, when it comes to coronavirus and people who come with coronavirus, you will be able to help. I have suggested now that people who have finished their undergraduate studies can be trained quickly in cognitive behavior therapy and can be of help. Now you can do that. I think that if you train yourself in cognitive behavior therapy, which is quite simple, you will train your own self. You look at your answer, where are the ideas, where are the beliefs, where are the thoughts that I have that are not useful and are not rational. So you improve your own self. And then you can do this to others. It is not a big issue, really. And if you start early, it will be better for you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Then I invite Sister Ashraka from Sudan.
From?
From Sudan, from Khartoum, maybe.
Yes. Yes.
Are you here, Ashraka?
Yeah. This question. Just question.
Yeah, yes.
Sister
Yes.
Ashraka.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Yes, please.
Hello.
Yeah, please.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
Hello. Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof. Malik. Ahlan, Prof. Malik. Thank you very much for this interesting presentation. And thank you, my daughter Jamila. My question, how to spare our children from corona phobia, and how help their parents to be more relaxed, in dealing with it in front of their children. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Ashraka.
How
to protect our children from corona, and what is the
Yes. I think that Sudan is an exceptional country. People are still crowding. People are making demonstrations, coming out, and people are standing in queues. So actually, the Sudan requires to train people in this issue is very difficult, because people do not believe that this is a very dangerous situation. And I think we don't need to scare our children, but we will have to let them know. I think that some of the things that people who have had the coronavirus and who have become well should come to the television, should come and show people, tell them how dangerous it is and how they were very near to death, but Allah has saved them. This, I think, is very important, because I think the issue in Sudan is different from other countries. All other countries I know. Maybe some countries in South America are like this, still are like the Sudan. But because in Sudan, there are only very few people who have been infected up to now. And the Ministry of Health and others are doing their very best to make the people realize that this is not a funny thing. It is not a simple thing. It's a thing that if it came, it can become very dangerous to the lives of many people. So I think that we need to show them this. I hope that some of those who have had the disease and have become better, have been cured, should not feel that they are that it was like something to be ashamed of. They should come out and help other people. Thank you very much, daughter.
Thank you, Prof. Next,
this lady who asked the question was a minister.
Mashallah. Have I met her? I think I've met her in Indonesia. Did I?
Yes.
Okay.
Alhamdulillah. Yes.
All right, Sister Eka, over to you to ask question to Professor Malik Badri.
Okay. Assalamualaikum,
Walaikum
Professor
assalam.
Malik and all participants. Thank you, Dr. Shukran. Actually, I already write the question. So as you said, Professor Malik, that the word would not be the same as previous words. And I believe there will be a normal way, a new normal way in every human activity. Besides the OCD increase, I also heard there is a number of violence in marriage or family environment also increase. The quality of relation is also becoming an issue nowadays. And my question is, because of the psychological intervention are becoming high demand, with this kind of situation, what do you think about telecounseling and teletherapy? Is it will be effective? And how about in Islamic psychology to develop a reliable procedure about those protocols, telecounseling and therapy? My name is Eka. I'm from the Alumni Association of Faculty Psychology in University Indonesia. Thank you very much, Jazakallah khair.
Okay, thank you, Sister Eka. Professor Malik.
Role of telecounseling will it be helpful?
Yes, yes, yes. Yes, I think it is important to have this. I can tell you about an experience, a personal experience. At one time, there was in the internet something like Islamic
Cyber.
Organization, yeah. Yes.
Online.
Huh?
Online.
Islam Online. You remember Islam Online? That was at one time being directed by Al-Qaradawi, Sheikh Al-Qaradawi.
Al-Jazeera.
Yes, Yusuf Al-Qaradawi. Now, many people ask him questions. So one of our students who was in STAC, in the International Institute of Islamic Thought and Civilization, he's American of Yemeni origins. So he discovered that many questions are psychological questions, people with problems. So he contacted me from America because he was working with Islam Online from America. He phoned me at 2 o'clock in the morning. I was shocked. I went, at that time, there were no hand phones or so. It was the normal, big, normal telephone. It rang. So I ran, I took up and I was afraid maybe somebody died and they wanted to tell me or so. Then he told me, look, ya akhi, I'm speaking from America. He did not know that, forgot that 2 in noon in America is 2 o'clock in the morning in Malaysia. So he told me that these people have psychological questions. I want you to answer these problems and to make a form of cyber counseling. So I agreed. And what he does, he types as fast as he can talk. So a person will put the question and then he will send the question to me or read it to me. When he reads the question, I begin to answer. When I answer, he types and sends my answer to the person. And the person will again, if need be, will contact me again. At about 100 cases, I have done about 100 cases of cyber counseling. And I put it in my notebook for almost 15 years or 20 years. In the notebook, I'm traveling with it. Then when IIUM decided to give me the chair of Ibn Khaldun, and I came back. I had time to do it. So I opened it and I took the questions and answers and put them in a book, Cyber Counseling for Muslim Clients. And indeed, this has been very successful. In many cases, people were, because of many people, when they are in trouble, they are as if they are, as one has put it, they are in a forest. They don't know where is the way out. And at times when you tell the person a good solution, it was not really counseling as such, but also I'm not waiting for them. This is not a non-directive counseling where I want the person to achieve his own, what do you call it, discovering his own solution to his problem. No, I intervene and I give my suggestion, and we discuss it. I think it was quite useful to many people, and some people continued also to contact me by email after that. So indeed, I think the Department of Psychology can start such a center, cyber counseling for concerning coronavirus. Any questions, any answers, how to treat phobias, how to treat this, and I think it would be very useful indeed. Thank you very much.
Yes,
Your question has come up with a good suggestion.
Thank you, Prof. Next is, can I invite Shahnaz now? Shahnaz, please unmute.
Assalamualaikum.
Yes.
Hello. Assalamualaikum.
Yes. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Professor Malik Badri, my name is Shahnaz Begum and I am from India, specifically from Tamil Nadu. My question is, I want to share a saddest event that happened here a few days before. Dr. Simon, who has been died because of treating COVID-19 patients, his body has been denied for burial from the people of the surrounding. So it has created a kind of depression and among the doctors, and it has created a kind of hatredness towards the people. So how to treat this and what therapy can be given to such the people, because it's a very peak of the anxiety and the panic is very high. So what kind of therapy that we need to give?
Yeah.
Yeah. People, you know, this Dr. Simon died from coronavirus. His body has been denied by people. So it developed a situation whereby depression and hatred situation, how to treat this.
Yes.
Depression because of the incident happened.
Yes. Dr. Simon was the one who talked about the coronavirus before.
No, he died. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he died. He told them, and they didn't take his word. And then he died. Is that the man, Dr. Simon?
Dr. Simon, his body has been denied from the people of the surrounding because fearing that it may spread, the COVID-19 might be spread because of his burial. So they feared and denied the body of Mr. Simon. So it has created a depression among other doctors who has been treating it. Yeah, and it has created a kind of hatredness towards the people who has denied the burial. So
I see.
Yeah.
How to treat this?
People who denied the burial of the doctor.
Yeah.
Now this is a very strange thing. I think that at times the evil in people, the evil aspects in people will not come out unless there is something catastrophic that happens to them. Just imagine the same thing is happening in Cairo, in Egypt. A whole town, small town, refused to accept the body of somebody who died in their own village, in their own town. They refused to accept him to be buried in the town until the Egyptians, police or whatever military people came by force and gas bombs and things, and they took the body in to be buried. They don't want the body to be buried in their own country, in his own land. Now, what can we say about this? The same thing was happening during the time of AIDS. When AIDS took place, I know of a Saudi patient, a man, he was okay. He went to England or America to study there, and then he came back with AIDS. All his family rejected him. He was in the hospital. And then one Sudanese man who told the story went to visit him. Then he told him, Ya Fulan, Ya Hassan, does the virus of AIDS, does it travel through telephone lines? Then he said, no, not of course. He said, why my own family refuse even to speak to me by phone? Are they afraid that I will infect them if I speak through the telephone? It will come to them through the wires. So this is indeed at times in the same family, such a thing can happen. What can we do about it? These people are mostly, the issue is lack of tawakkul, lack of iman, lack of humanity. And in this case, it is not really at psychotherapy. This is the whole kind of people to re-look at the way they look at life. It is a change of the worldview. And this cannot be done in a clinic. Changing somebody's worldview cannot be done in a clinic. Only in the case of depression, maybe some people, through changing their own thoughts and their own beliefs, can change their worldview, but it takes time. It's not something that can happen quickly. But in such cases in which people have been brought up to be selfish and to be, then I don't think it is something that one can say a psychotherapy can help. Yeah.
Okay, Professor Malik, can we take one more question from Dr. Intan? Dr. Intan, please.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Shukran. Prof. Malik, Assalamualaikum.
Yes. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Good to see you, Prof. Okay, I'm just going to read my question. I find that the Salat is very therapeutic. It can calm you and somehow provide directions for your behaviors. So may I get Prof. Malik's view on how the Salat can help prevent the development of mental disorder that may arise out of the pandemic? Thank you, Prof.
Thank you.
How prayer Salat can
How
help Salat, the role of Salat.
Yes. Yes, the role of Salat. Now, we can speak about this open-heartedly without any inhibitions, without spirituality, without contact with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and without appreciation and love to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we will never be happy as Muslims. I cannot forget the time I was in Ethiopia, and the person in charge of our group is an Englishman, an old Englishman, who is an atheist. He doesn't believe in God. And then he comes to me and he tells me, I really envy you. I'm envious of you because he is afraid to go into an aeroplane. When he goes into the aeroplane, he's trembling like this until he comes down. And he is all the time thinking this dunya is everything. Once he dies, khalas, it is finished. Now he is a person who expressed his feelings to me in a congratulations to me in a different manner. Wallahi, ya Malik, I envy you. I wish if I can become like that, but I cannot. So anyway, I think that now psychology, all of psychology, is beginning to change gradually. As Jamila told you, that people now are learning, from Buddhism. They are going to Buddhism. That the third wave of behavior, of cognitive behavior therapy, is going into spirituality. We are hearing about positive psychology. I'm talking about making dua to someone and you will become better. We are talking now. When I was in 1953 studying my first course in psychology in the American University of Beirut, our textbook was telling us that extrasensory or psychology or parapsychology is a myth. There is nothing like that. And he said that only 1% or less of psychologists who believe that there is something like telepathy or clairvoyance or of near-death experiences. Today, there are, you can go and get your degree, higher degree in parapsychology. And universities are appointing people who are specialists not only in the broad field of parapsychology, but only in one part of it. I am a specialist in near-death experience. I have had cases like this, so he will come and say so, and he's accepted to teach. So now I lived to see the difference. Now in the last, it must be now about 60 years or so. In 60 years, these people who consider this as nonsense and religion as superstition are coming to teach it for a PhD and a master's degree. So psychology is going towards this direction. I'm sorry, yeah, so here we are. Don't be surprised if people come and talk. There will be a chapter on Islamic rituals that reduce anxiety and help people. And then there will be a section on Sadat and how it has influenced people. We should be aiming at this extent where a person standing at night, everybody is asleep and he is alone, and he is begin to speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his prayers, and he weeps and sobs. Now, what if a psychologist, a Western psychologist sees him? He will think he has depression. Maybe he will suggest drugs or ask him to go to be an inpatient. This is khushu'. Khushu', what is khushu'? Khushu' is a term in Arabic that has no translation in English or any other language. In Salah, you get khushu'. But what is khushu'? It contains a combination of different emotions. It's love to Allah, fear from Allah, submission to Allah. Go and look for khushu' in an English dictionary, Arabic English dictionary. All of them, they will say khushu' is submission. But it is not submission alone. I can submit to in the company, I'm an officer, my boss, I submit to him. Come here, ya Malik. You did not do so and so. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You should do, yes, sir. I completely submit. But from my heart, I hate him. I hate him. And if things change, I'm going to come and tell him, you silly man, you think you are God, you think you are. I will listen. But no, I submit. So you can submit, but you don't love. Here we are. We are in Salah, we should be looking for this possibility of khushu'. Very few of us can have it. And when you have it, it just comes like this and goes. I hope that I have answered your question. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Prof. Malik, it seems that we have one question. One brother from India would like to ask you a quick question. Please,
Yes.
Abdul Rahman from India, we invite you to put a question to Professor Malik.
Yes.
Please unmute your microphone.
Abdul Rahman from India.
Abdullah, kindly unmute.
Muted. Can I ask the question?
Trying to speak.
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, sir.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi.
Professor, I have a question. I am Abdur Rahman from India, where Muslims are a minority in numbers. So in India, what is happening? So many Muslims have been affected from the COVID. Some Muslims have been affected from the COVID, not many. And they have that disease issue, and they have that because of lockdown, they have financial issue and some psychological issues. All issues are coming together to the Muslims of India. So how to train them, how to treat them, how to take them out of these psychological problems?
Yes. Yes, I have been reading about what is happening to the Muslims in India. It is very painful. However, I think that we are, I want to talk to you from my heart. I'm not trying to become a psychologist or whatever. I just want to be a normal Muslim. We are living in the last, في قريب من الساعة. The hour is coming. It is the last, maybe, life of humans on earth. I think that we must appreciate this because the Prophet, the fact that the Prophet has become a Rasul in itself is one of the signs of the last hour. The Prophet says, بُعِثْتُ أَنَا وَالسَّاعَةُ كَهَاتَيْنِ. like he made his fingers. Me and the last hour are coming together. So now it is 1,400 years, and we expect that things might become more difficult on us. I expect that something is going to happen to the Muslims. Everywhere they have been persecuted, it is time for them to come together and something big will happen. I have been in 1960, when did I go? In the 50s. In the 50s, I was invited by my Jordanian friends. I was a student in Beirut in the American University. And we went to Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, the Holy Mosque in Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa. And I went to pray Isha there. Wallahi, there were not more than about 20 people in the whole mosque. And most of them were elderly people or people who are no young people. This is the mosque to which the Prophet came in an Isra. People were not praying in the mosque, or were not praying at all. At that time, people were talking about Arab nationalism, and Abdul Nasser is speaking about this. No talk about Islam. Now look what has happened today. The mosque is full to the brim. And the Israelis, the Zionists are pushing people out. But they come and they pray in the yard of the mosque. Thousands. What has happened? How did it happen? It happened out of the persecution that took place. People were persecuted. They are still being persecuted. They come together, and the fact that they come together, they begin to re-look into their Islam and religion, and then Salat becomes a necessity. It becomes, you see, the young people are more enthusiastic than the old. I am not pessimistic about what is happening in India. We don't have any, what can we do? Because Trump came and visited India, and after he visited, we have a guess as what he said to this criminal, the president or prime minister of India. He talked to him. He must have given him instructions as what to do to the Muslims. And I do not think that this is going to pass easily. Coronavirus is only one of the signs that we have seen. Other things are coming. So do not be pessimistic, son. Ya Abdurrahman, may Allah bless you.
Ameen.
Jazakumullah khairan, Professor.
Thank you, Professor Malik Badri. Thank you, Prof, for answering all the questions from your son, daughters, grandson, granddaughters, great-granddaughters as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Professor Malik, I'm very pleased to inform you that we have Professor Olga Pavlova, who is joining us from Russia. I think she is in Moscow, right?
Yes.
Can I invite her to say a few words to all of us? Professor Olga Pavlova, can we invite you to share with us of anything you'd like to share?
Yes, I think. Yes, I think I'm expecting to go to Russia, inshallah. Yes, I would listen. I would listen to her.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, dear colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu warahmatullah.
I'm glad to see you. It's very important for us and then the meeting. I want to thank everyone for this wonderful opportunity to see you and see Dr. Malik Badri and see here all. We read the books, Dr. Malik Badri, these books.
Mashallah.
We study Islamic psychology. This Dr. Malik Badri and his books. Specialist of our association of the psychological assistant to Muslims from Russia. Cope with coronaphobia. It's very great problem for us. In Russia, many people get sick and worry about their health and the health of their relatives. Thank you very much for your interesting lessons and thank you very much for the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much indeed. I am sorry I was not feeling very well when I was invited to come to you in Russia. Inshallah.
Dr. Malik Badri, inshallah.
Barakallahu feek, barakallahu feek, Prof. Thank you very, very much indeed.
Thank you for your kind
Thank
words.
you very much too, Dr. Malik Badri. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Pavlova, for
May
your
Allah bless you, my dear sister.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Malik Badri from Istanbul Zaim Salahuddin University, for your very insightful, full of knowledge, I must say, that you have shared with us this afternoon or this evening. Thank you also to my now daughter, Dr. Jamila Hanum, for your enormous coverage of what Professor Malik Badri has offered us. You have put it in a very nice takeaway for us to bring back together with us. And Dr. Mira for making this Zoom session a reality. We couldn't be able to host, an audience of 300 without your help. All right, we look forward to having your help again in the future. Students of Organizational Change and Development in the Masters of IO Psychology, thank you very much for organizing everything. Okay, so they have been doing all the technicalities, correspondences with all of you. And also students of Masters of Clinical Psychology for helping us with the repertorying. Okay, I look forward to be reading your notes after this. And to all of you, dear participants, thank you for joining us, right? Hopefully whatever you have heard from Professor Malik Badri are going to be taken back and taken away with you and translated into your practice. Or if you are educationist, psychology education provider, try to design a program or strengthen your program so that we can produce competent mental health professionals, which are very much needed in our society, wherever we are. All right, so Ramadan Kareem, everybody, and have a blessed and meaningful Ramadan starting from tomorrow. And
Dr. Shukran, may I have about 1 minute to a final say? I would like to invite everyone. I'm so sorry. I forgot to include this as part of my presentation. I would like to invite, are you able now to see my my screen, yeah? So I'm taking this opportunity because I'm the chair of the scientific committee for the 7th Asian Cognitive Behavior Therapy Conference, because Prof. Malik has mentioned that let's learn CBT. So this is another avenue, even though that it's not very soon, but I would like to promote this. Come and join us and learn CBT, the Asian CBT associations and also the World CBT associations in collaboration with the World CBT Association is organizing 7th Asian Cognitive Behavior Therapy Conference in Malaysia, inshallah next year 2021 at Sunway University, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Yeah. So I think that's all, Dr. Shukran. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very
very
much,
much, all of
congratulations
you.
to you, Dr. Jamila, for convening such an important academic gathering, which is now postponed to next year, inshallah. I would like to now invite everybody for an extraordinary group photo. I mean, we have our way to do group photo now. Can I request everybody to activate their camera now so that we can do group photo? Yes, we have Aryarti. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Haina, Berdaus, Mazlan, Najwani, Hishamuddin, Dian.
Yes.
Mazlan, can you now activate your camera?
I'm sorry, doctor. I got some issue with my camera. Actually, I already activated, but then doesn't appear anything. I don't know.
Dian. All right. One more time. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much, everybody. Professor Malik Badri, thank you very much.
Thank you. Barakallahu feekum. May Allah bless you all.
Yes, and we look forward to seeing you soon in person.
Bye-bye, Dr. Malik.
Jazakumullah khair, Prof.
Assalamualaikum.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Assalamualaikum
Thank you,
warahmatullahi
everyone.
wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Dr. Shukran. Thank you, Dr. Prof. Malik.
Assalamualaikum.
Jazakumullah khair.
Assalamualaikum
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bye.
At least now we can touch you without fear.
Professor Malik Badri.
We can touch all of you without fear of contamination.
Professor Malik Badri, will you please send the email ID of
Alhamdulillah, yes.
Professor Malik Badri? Could you please share the email ID?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
You want my email? Yeah.
Yeah, we are from India. We are from India. We are continuously watching your videos.
Yeah, I think you can get my email from. You like me to write it down for you?
Yeah, we will organize it for you, Professor Malik. We will send them.
You will get.
Okay.
Go take care.
Okay.
Thank you. Jazakumullah, especially the organizer. Ramadan Karim.
Ramadan Mubarak, Prof. Malik and Sister Fatima. Eli Risman from Jakarta.
Eli, Jakarta. Where is it? We wish you Ramadan Karim.
Yes.
Eli from Jakarta. Where is the picture?
Dr. Mira.
Ramadan Karim. Allahu Akram.
Allahu Akram. Shukran jazeelan. Ramadan Kareem to all of you. Inshallah, this Ramadan.
Yeah, Manila. Okay, so I will end the session. Thank you very much. The recording will be available in the next few hours. I will try to upload to YouTube. So inshallah, for those who miss the session, they will have the opportunity to go through the session again, and we can share to everyone in our contact that probably would need of our session today. Jazakumullah khairan kathir and Ramadan Karim. Barakallahu fikum jami'an. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.